We're here in the engine room of the MJA with Editor-in-Chief Stephen Leeder. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Kate.
Tell us a bit about the 6th of April issue. It's got a lot of women's health in it.
Yes, that's right. We recognised Women's Health Day, which is a WHO, World Health Organisation idea, and there are several articles that pertain to it. I've got a piece at the beginning of the journal that looks at where maternal mortality is going. It hasn't had the same success as one of the 8 Millennium Development Goals, as has infant mortality or the reduction of global poverty. Both of those have been achieved.
What are the reasons for that?
I think probably attitudinal. One has to say that societal attitudes toward women in many less developed countries are pretty pathetic. And I think of places like India, where there remain a large number of women dying of the complications of delivery.
Mm-hmm.
It's largely because of ignorance, and also the fact that if they bleed after delivery, which is common, there's no one to help.
Yeah.
So it needs political attitude, and I think that's the point of the WHO approach to this, that they're saying there are clinical elements in this. Of course, you've got to be good at stopping hemorrhage and treating problems, but there's a societal and political problem, and that trying to get part of the equity matter as it pertains to health resolved is a big ticket.
Yeah.
But we've got to recognise that while we're doing quite well, we're not doing brilliantly, and a lot of maternal mortality is associated with poverty. Sierra Leone, the country that came to prominence because of the Ebola epidemic.
Yeah.
Terrible poverty and appalling maternal mortality rates. So you can go in there at the tent hospital and try and fix things up, and for an infectious disorder like Ebola, that's probably the best you can do. But maternal mortality is there the whole time.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got the infrastructure, you haven't got a society that values women, then it's going to be a big problem. So that's just a little bit about, but there's a lot to celebrate. I mean, we've made great progress, and we see that in multicultural Australia, where people who come from places like Sierra Leone and are in our country enjoying a very high quality life.
There's a story too about the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN.
Yes, this is all it probably feels a little bit remote from daily clinical practice, but these things are very important in shaping the environment in which contemporary Australian medicine set. So at the beginning of this millennium, goals were set to be realised by 2015. Well, we're there. And a large number of them have been. Reduction in absolute poverty has gone down. Infant mortality has improved. But the question now becomes, well, what of the future? What follows on from the Millennium Development Goals?
Yep.
And in recognition of the world scientific majority view that there are problems with sustainability, given the rate of growth of the world economies and the contribution of carbon to the atmosphere, we need to turn the crystal through 10 or 15 degrees. So the new set of goals are not called next millennium goals, they're called sustainable development goals. And this picks up the linkage between what we've just been saying, poverty and the rest of it. And indeed, if you're going to do serious things about improving the climate and making the globe sustainable, then you've got to take more into account. So I think these would be more comprehensive. They do run the risk, though, of course, if you're trying to be everything to everybody, of being nothing to anybody.
Yeah.
And there's so many players involved that there's a really serious risk. So there's a good article there that looks at the process of setting these goals, which is underway as we speak, and what the upsides and downsides of that'll be, and where Australia might.
And we've got some good stuff on autism spectrum disorders.
Yes, and I think the main message out of that paper is that well, let me start again. Let me say, autism, the earlier the problems picked up, it seems, the better the prognosis.
Yes.
And the article makes the point that probably by 2 years of age, most children on the autism spectrum can be recognised. The average age of detection and starting of treatment, if I remember correctly, is about 3.
Yeah.
So the message is we need earlier sensitivity to autism spectrum disorder if we're going to give children, I mean, that's a long time. If you're only 3 and you've missed 1 year, and the point of it is that this is the interval of maximum neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
So the brain remains malleable, and that diminishes with age. I mean, there's all sort of degree of neuroplasticity there, as we see in patients recovering from stroke and problems of that sort. But so it's a good article. It's not histrionic. It's not saying do this or die. It's saying there's an opportunity here to improve the detection and management of children with this.
And as a special treat for the readers, there's one of your own poems.
That's very true. That's
Hurrah!
very true. That looks at the interesting phenomenon that was brought to my attention by Stephen Simpson, who's the director of the Perkins Centre at the University of Sydney, when he said to me one day, we're born old.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, you just think about the tumult of development that goes on in the 9 months. And I thought it was a very poetic thought, so I wrote a poem about it.
Good. And it's a cracker, ladies and gentlemen. I've read it. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Cate.